It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 71, Silver Nemesis.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Debbie?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, but the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine, Stephen. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is finding. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your classic tri-weekly Doctor Who review podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Eric. I don't know when you're listening to this. Joined always by...
I'm Dan, and I do know when you're listening to this.
Oh, you do?
I'm literally
He's
behind everyone at every moment.
He's very into the analytics. They call them Analytics Dan.
Yeah, that's one thing podcasts are known for, is their extensive analytics.
Oh, yeah. So how are you?
How are you? How's
good.
everything? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good. I feel like it felt longer, I think, since almost like we took a break, but we didn't.
No, I had the same feeling. I had to look, like, has it been 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Because it really feels so much has happened. It's a brand new year.
It is.
2019 is underway. It's already so much better.
Wait.
The sun is shining. Birds are tweeting. What?
Right. I was going to say, yeah, this is future Dan Eric, right? This is the first podcast we're doing of 2017. 2019.
It's a time travel show, folks.
We didn't go back in time.
No.
This is
We tend
also
not to.
we started in 2015, so we've just hit an anniversary of, math fans tell me, it is 4 years old. We're 4 years old.
We're 4 years old, which is kind of nice because this is a 25th anniversary story that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, it
so
is.
there's anniversaries all around.
You wouldn't really know it was a 25th. Well, I guess
We'll
you
get
could.
into
There's
that.
a couple
Let's-
of things. Should we just get into it? I mean, we saw a New Year's Eve Doctor Who special. I don't know if we really need to talk about it.
Do you want to talk about it?
I don't think so, right? I mean,
give me your one sentence review or feelings about the special.
I don't know if it's because I'm hungover, but I actually can't remember a thing about it. Like, my brain's like, okay, I know I saw it.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm getting it confused with the finale, but
Right.
it was. Let me see if I can.
There was a
save
microwave
myself
that featured prominently.
It was called Resolution,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
And
That's
the father
good
was in it. Our friend,
Yeah.
one of the companions' father. So that was there were some good scenes there that I liked.
Those are the only. You told me those are the only scenes you liked, actually.
Until the end, I thought the end was kind of corny a little bit. I mean, because you have it's constantly sacrificing. Everyone's sacrificing. I can tell you, I really don't like the way that they write the Doctor, and this really exemplified that. When the Doctor says, like, to the aliens, I can't remember what aliens, but some kind of aliens, like, don't come back here. Me and my mates got the planet covered. And it's like, you're the Doctor. You're better than humans. You're not equal. It's the Doctor. Like, you don't need to, keep downplaying her worth all the time, right? Do you get the sense that she's a companion? It's like a show made of 4 companions.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. No. You. I think I'm with you on a lot of that. I feel like. You and I have talked about this separately, and maybe even on the show, but that the fact that she almost feels like she's stumbling into the answers, where she's like, I'll figure it out. I'm the Doctor. I always figure it out. And it's like, actually, just do it. Don't make why are they making her into a bumbling Doctor that isn't, that we don't have any real sense she's actually a genius or that she's clever. She just happens to be, and it's all this, feels like random happenstance that things kind of work out for her. Where other Doctors who have that bumbling persona, they use that to their advantage to throw people off so that they, can actually do the clever things, where it just feels like it doesn't feel like they know what they want to do with her, and I don't think it's Jodie Whittaker's fault at all.
No, I 100%
completely put it on the writing and showrunners.
Yeah,
100%.
I did not come up with this observation, but somebody somewhere somebody wrote something where like all of the other doctors have something internal that they're struggling with in the new series. Like Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, was racked with guilt because of the time. He caused the death of all the Daleks and the Time Lords, and then you had sort of
still coming out of the Time War. Yeah,
David Tennant was sort of his love of Rose and like all the stuff with Rose, and then the things that happened with her, and that was sort of working in there. And I felt like Matt Smith was like he had a mystery to unravel, at least in the beginning.
Right.
With like there was some thing under the surface that they were struggling with and dealing with. Peter Capaldi was, again, kind of, am I a good person? Am I not a good person? Like all of that stuff.
Right.
Whereas I can't tell you what this doctor is struggling with or dealing with.
She just wants friends. She wants fam. Like I 100% agree. There's no internal conflict there.
It doesn't matter. I just, it's I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Dan.
I think you told me enough. That's great.
Yeah, let's talk about the old stuff. The Silver Nemesis, which is not without its problems. So let's hit. Yeah, well, I playing my hand a little early. Let's hit the button.
All right.
Move away from our negativity and into the positive town. Let's paint ourselves silver, like that weird Ewok that I saw at a Crash Worship show in the 90s, where they were throwing firecrackers at the audience, and the guy was completely naked, painted silver, and a guy that looked like Rod Stewart was yelling, "F the fire department, it's Crash Worship." Hit that button.
See how my poison is as deadly as ever, Richard.
And I shall look after the sick, which reminds me I'll return to Briggs his money.
Get up. I tell you, Richard, were there men of silver like these here in our day, my life had been quite different. Now I'll let them destroy each other. And then we'll take the Nemesis.
Where did that come from?
I couldn't see.
A Cyberman killed with an arrow, but that's ludicrous. Unless, of course, the head's made of gold.
That's real gold.
Yes, the only substance to which they're vulnerable.
Classic.
Gold dipped in poison. Maybe Penfold's calling card.
I really think we should be getting out of here, Doctor.
I really think you're right.
My lady, who is that little man?
Oh, glorious evil. It is he.
All right, this is Silver Nemesis, Dan. This is the third serial of the 25th season. And as you had said, it's the 25th anniversary, 25th seasons, 25th years of fun. This is coming to us in November of 1988. This is an interesting story in that it's three factions are sort of competing for a meteor. So the Doctor finds himself entangled with the Cybermen, bunch of neo-Nazis for some reason, and a 17th century sorceress named Lady Painfart, right? Does it sound like Painfart? At least one reading of it, and that's an unfortunate name. Anyway, all three of these groups seem to be after this magical statue that when, in a classic almost Resident Evil puzzle, that you have to go around and find a bow and find a silver arrow, and you put it into the statue, and then you get all the power of the universe. Not 100% sure how any of this works or is connected, but that's the thing. So will the Doctor stop the Nazis, or will he stop the Cybermen? Or will we fall asleep while we're watching? I don't know. Dan, what did you think of Silver's Nemesis?
Silver Fox.
Oh, wait. No, this was, written by Kevin Clark and directed by Chris
Clough.
Clough.
We have been corrected twice.
Chris Clough.
And it is Clough.
All right, Chris Clough. And Kevin Clark, who, from what I read, I think wrote this story on the back of a napkin and read it in front of, when he was pitching the story. which kind of shows. And I heard also, just a little backstory here, that the Cybermen were sort of added in maybe because it was the 25th anniversary and they needed the Cybermen. So maybe the original story may have included the Nazis and the woman from the 16th century, and then because it does feel a little bit like the Cybermen were added in. But enough about me, Dan. What did you think of this?
Well, I went into it for some reason. I thought that this was a widely disliked story, so I had very low expectations for it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Then was pleasantly surprised by how much I kind of enjoyed it. It was a fine story. There was a lot going on, and I feel like maybe your read on adding the Cybermen kind of later. Maybe that if that was true, it definitely feels that way. Because we just did have a lot of factions here, and it probably could have been fine with just the two. Although the Nazi part of it really felt like that was the afterthought, and it could have been more interesting with just the Cybermen and Lady Painfort. But whatever, as it was, it was a pretty interesting story. What I liked most about this, again, and I said this in the previous couple of stories that we've watched, the continuing, evolving relationship between the Doctor and Ace. I think there are moments, hanging out at the jazz concert, laying back in the forest, listening to her souped-up boombox. Those moments were great. Traveling just the two of them together, back and forth between the 1600s and 1988 to kind of put this puzzle together, just the two of them. I really enjoyed their relationship more than anything else in this story. But overall, it was fine. The only thing that really bothered me a lot in this story was the over-reliance on their the Cybermen's big bullseye on their chest that says, "Please don't hit me with gold."
The Cybermen thing is totally ridiculous, especially when there's much later, maybe part 3, the neo-Nazi group and the Cybermen are sort of like, we want to help you. How can you help us? We're unstoppable. And the Cybermen are saying this whole thing like, we're pretty much invincible, except for that sensitive guy with the ponytail that has the worst pullback bow thing ever. That's a problem for them. Literally, one guy is like 18 Cybermen in a field can't take down that one guy with the weakest pullback. But so they have nothing to be bragging about as far as how powerful they are when that was stopping them, and they needed to hire Nazis, only 2 Nazis, to do it.
Yeah, I mean I noted this at the time. DeFlores, who's the neo-Nazi leader, is trying to craft a deal with the cyber leader and says, gold overcomes the Cybermen. We have no such weakness. No, you're not. Weak to gold, but literally everything else in the world is going to kill you. So how are they going to think that it's just so a regular arrow would kill you, Mr. Nazi? So it doesn't have to be gold tipped. Kind of ridiculous. Again, I feel like the Nazis were almost a weird little afterthought. I don't know why they were necessary at all in this. But,
I will add, because I didn't say what I thought of this. I didn't like it as much as you. I think there's a lot of really funny moments in it. There was a lot of good moments in it. Like you pointed out, Ace and the Doctor are amazing together. Just her, do you have explosives? No, I don't. I'm not a good girl. Well, go blow that thing up. That kind of stuff is very funny.
I love that. It's those moments between the two of them that just make me so happy.
The Cybermen listening to jazz and then saying this doesn't make any sense or this is nonsense or whatever. I wrote that line down, but that was very funny. So there were moments that were great. But I also felt it was very middle of the road. And by the end, it was... To me, it felt very flat. There's just scenes with people talking, and the Cyberman with a gun is just standing there, and it's like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Who's after what? How did the Nazis even know about all of this meteor stuff? And they sort of say maybe Hitler was foreseeing the arrival of the Cybermen at one point, and
just to put a note in that, like, it's. I honestly don't know how true this is, but it has become true in popular fiction about the Nazis that they were very much into the occult. I mean, this is the whole Raiders of the Lost Ark thing, and that stuff. So they could have at least explained it in that way that Hitler was very interested in the occult, and this was a story that's been passed down because it's from the 1600s that there was this meteor, whatever. They could have explained it in some way, and I guess that's just maybe sort of implied.
It's a
that there was
weird.
that,
the whole thing
but
is very
weird.
weird.
It was a reach. Yeah.
So to timeline it for me, because I definitely got confused.
Can I just one note real quick?
Oh,
I said that coming into this, I thought that it was a widely panned story, but I looked at the fan review, the fan ratings from 1988, the Doctor Who magazine awards. It's in the top quarter of stories.
All right.
So
I can see why people,
which is kind of it was a little surprise. Well,
it was not terrible. I would give it 3 out of 5. If
actually, no.
like that.
I'm sorry. I have it backwards.
Wait, what?
It's in the bottom quarter.
Okay.
It's 116 out of 160 at the time.
Wait, but
all right, no, never. That makes a lot more sense.
Is that of this Doctor or of the entire show?
All stories that had aired up to 1988.
Okay.
1998.
Yeah, I did not.
For whatever that's worth, but that's that's the biggest fan poll. So anyway. Okay, that aligns much more clearly with what I expected.
I did love I liked when they were sort of the Ren fairing it. So they go in 16th century and they take this funny juice and they do the blackout time travel, which who hasn't been there at least once? And then they end up, in the present, and they're walking down and the 2 street toughs are like, "Hey, what are you guys, social workers?" I thought that was funny. Like, we want to tell you our problems. My dad never told me he loved me. So I loved all of that stuff. And the fact that they get all of their clothes taken off and they're hanging upside down and the Doctor just walks up and is like, "What happened to you?" Whatever. Like, we got beat up by social workers or who did this to you, social workers. That was funny.
That was hilarious.
I liked it.
I mean, it was so weird to see them just like stripped naked down to their boxers and hanging from upside down from a tree was just so odd. I don't know where that was coming from.
But what I was saying before was, help me timeline this.
Okay.
Right? Because I know
Let's see what happens
here. So in this,
we're gonna get this all completely wrong, but let's give it a shot.
Fine. We're totally gonna get it wrong. Who cares? So there is a meteor. Or no, well, there is a piece. This metal. What's the metal called?
Okay, so we want to go all the way back.
We gotta start at the beginning. So the
Validium,
Rassilon and Omega create or do something with this metal that gives.
They created a living metal called Validium. Validium, that was supposed to be the ultimate defense for Gallifrey. And apparently, I don't know if it's actually said in this story or if it was reading about it, because holy crap, the TARDIS Wikia page that gives you the entire history of the Time Lords it's bonkers. But apparently the first Doctor took some with him, or it left with the first Doctor, and that's how it got onto the universe. There's a living metal. It's a defense thing.
Right. It's vibranium or whatever you want to call it.
It's vibranium. It's unobtainium.
Yeah. It crashes on Earth somewhere in the 1600s.
Yep.
Right. This woman who is sort of a jerk, lady.
Yeah, she's kind of a jerk. She poisons people.
Yeah,
she's kind of a jerk.
Lady Blood Rain or whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. She has someone carve it into a likeness of her.
I don't know that. Did they say that, or did it assume her form, or she made it into her form?
No idea, Dan.
Because later, the Nemesis says that, "Do you like this form? Isn't it beautiful? I have been forms that would horrify you or terrify you."
Okay.
So I feel like it just kind of shapeshifts,
so it
a la
shapes
the
itself to look like
liquid
her,
metal
maybe.
Terminator.
It has a bow and an arrow. Why? Don't know.
No reason.
Right.
I mean, it can be any shape, and that's part of it. So why? Okay, sure.
Okay,
And maybe it just needs to be.
So then the Doctor
together,
tracks it down to Earth, right? It's got to be the same Doctor because she recognizes him.
Potentially not, from what I was reading.
But she
who knows
recognizes
for
him.
sure.
She says that's the Doctor from far away when she's with Ren Fair Johnny.
That little man
who just wants to hold hands with her.
Someone had retconned that it was likely to have been the second Doctor. For whatever reason, I didn't really read through all this, so who knows?
Sees him
but
says that's the guy.
But I was just going to say, the seventh Doctor and the second Doctor are the most closely.
They look alike.
I think. I mean, and they act like. I feel like the seventh Doctor takes bits from other Doctors, but in my mind, he is most closely aligned with the second Doctor. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Minor
point.
Fine. Whatever.
It's all minor plot points. None of it makes sense.
He comes down. He realizes this stuff's too powerful.
Sure.
To fall into human hands. And a side note, this is the first time that I remember the Doctor saying something so anti-human, where he talks about a bunch of bad decisions, like when a fish crawls out of the earth.
It's
on
the worst
planet.
decision since life climbed out of the primordial
Usually
soup on this planet.
He loves humans, and he's I'm amazed and fascinated. But this was sort of like, this was a terrible mistake, and it's gone on too long.
I had two reads on that line. I can't remember exactly what he says, but it was the worst decision since life climbed out of the primordial whatever on this planet. Does he mean like that was the first bad mistake that life actually began on Earth, or a more charitable reading is like since the beginning of human history this is the worst? And it has to be the latter because the Doctor loves humanity. So
yeah, I
weird.
took it.
But anyway,
like
it doesn't matter.
If that never happened, we wouldn't be in all the messes we're in. All right, so anyway, let's
That's
get all the way
fair,
back. Doctor tracks this stuff, realizes it's too powerful to someone could have, because if you have all of it, you can do timey stuff. Anything you want, whatever.
You can destroy any planet, complete power over life and destruction. I mean,
so it's super dangerous.
Okay.
He breaks it into 3 parts by literally taking an arrow off and taking a bow. Leaves 2 of the parts on the Earth.
Yeah.
And then launches the other thing into space. Now, at the end, we realize this is a master plan of his, because he's going to launch it into space knowing it's going to somehow attract the Cybermen into the future, and he can use it to destroy them. All right? But,
well,
why not
yes, that's exactly right.
Right, okay. But and the orbit of the comet becomes a comet because it is degrading, so it's getting a little bit closer to Earth each time. Each pass, every 25 years, something horrible happens.
Yeah.
So the Doctor caused World War I and the assassination of John F. Kennedy, because as these things pass, these horrible events happen. So that's maybe not the most well thought out plan. Right?
The ends justify the means. Yeah. I mean, that is what he's implying.
This lady, Lavender Pants, whatever her name is, she's
Lady
also a sorceress. She's into the black arts, right? So she's listening to mayhem and eating people's
Put a
brains.
pin in that. I want to come back to that later, but yes.
So she develops time travel tonic. Not sure.
Yes.
Maybe it's something to do with, because she has the bow. Right, she's got the bow and the arrow at that point?
She has only the arrow.
She only has the arrow because someone stole the bow?
The bow...
Something gets stolen.
Well, we don't know where it is in the 1600s, but she doesn't have the bow. The Nazis get that later, but we don't know at that moment in the early 1600s when they drink the time potion and get all wacky. We don't know where the bow is. We don't know where the bow is.
Somehow she knows all of this. So she's like, I know the Doctor launched it as a comet, and she hires this old dude. Hey, you got to figure out when we can get the comet. That makes sense. So she's like, well, it's going to land in 1988. And she's like, give me that time juice. And she gets Ren Fair Johnny. And they both kill him because they need blood for this. It's like a weird time travel black magic, whatever. Then they drink it. Then they go forward in the future expecting to get the statue, but they don't have the bow. So how are they going to get the bow? They know where the bow is. Did they always?
I don't think they do. Okay. No, it's not clear.
And then
not
there's
clear what the
Nazis. And I don't know how the Nazis know about all of this.
Let's assume Hitler knew.
Let's say, okay, so it's part of the quest for the Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. And also, well, you need the bow of the Rangor,
the Nemesis.
Or whatever. Nemesis.
Rangor.
And so that's basically it, right? And then it's all the Doctor's plan to kill the invisible Cybermen fleet that he's not aware that are there, but then he gets an idea that they're there, but he must have known they were coming.
So did he really know that? Like, that felt so convenient at the end. It was almost like we were talking at the top of this before we started this review of like the Doctor presents himself or herself in this case as being bumbling, but really has a master plan that doesn't let anyone in on it, and it really all comes together. This just felt way too convenient. Like, oh no, I knew the cyber fleet was going to be here in 1988 when this thing crashes again.
Right. Well,
so that way I can kill them, which seems nuts. I mean, that's nuts. Crazy.
It's completely
that
crazy.
Doesn't make any sense. And sure, the Doctor's a master tactician, and he has the advantage of being able to see through time and space. So maybe he could figure something like that. It just feels so contrived.
And
especially like you pointed out with these side effects of like causing World War I and for Hitler to annex, it's felt nuts.
No, it's crazy. And plus, you're saying it's a second Doctor, so he's clearly run into the Cybermen
who knows?
A number of times. If it's not the second Doctor and it's this Doctor,
which
is the way
feels
this
more
runs,
realistic. Yeah.
He doesn't even remember in the beginning the alarm's going off, like, I needed to be somewhere and do something. Remember, he's got the little...
Yeah, that's true.
It's far enough away that he's forgotten. It just seemed like...
Yeah, that's actually an argument for it not to be this Doctor, because we've seen everything in his timeline.
You know what? This is a world, Dan, where you can go see, John Coltrane jazz tribute band, and then get a tape signed, and then jump in the water, and you're worried the tape's going to get... Ace is like, I hope my tape's not okay, Ace. That signature is going to smudge.
Would have been fine. Oh, the signature, unless it was a Sharpie. If it was a Sharpie, then it's okay. And magnetic recording device is pretty resilient. Yeah, it's a good choice, Ace. Good choice.
I liked all the jazz stuff. I like the weird, the Nazis are always a good villain. That it opens with that weird guy that
I didn't know where you're going with that
sentence. That guy that works for Trump. What's his face? It was
right.
Whatever that dude's name is. The time travel cocktails, but again, it's very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, when you describe the timeline like that, I mean, it just there was throughout this story there were the references to chess. So it's trying to make the argument that the Doctor really is one step ahead.
Yeah,
and he's planning all these things out, and he's playing this long game. So he really did plan that, in 350 years, the Cybermen will show up, and I can kill them then with this thing. But I just don't buy it.
Here's another mystery. So sure. I guess it's the Cybermen have already landed on Earth, and they have planted robotic gas things to gas.
Is that what happened?
I thought that was a Cyberman that planted that. It could have been the Nazis.
That makes a lot more sense, because I didn't know why the Nemesis would do something like that.
How does the cop get under the car? Like, I
know.
Gas. And then when they find the bodies, he's halfway under the car. So I felt like he was doing his own thing when the gas went off.
Oh man, I was thinking about that too. That made me laugh whenever I saw it, because I was picturing, okay, the cameras haven't started rolling yet. The director, the director's on set calling places. That actor decides to get down on the ground and then shimmy under the car, and they're just like, I guess that's Pete. That's just what he does. He's just gonna go under cars. It made no sense. I thought maybe at first when I saw him, I thought he got killed by a car. I thought the car ran over him, but he got drowsy and slipped underneath. But I didn't know where those vents that spray out the poison gas or whatever it is, I don't know where they came from. I assumed it came from the Nemesis, because don't we see that before we see Cybermen? No, we see them before we see Cybermen.
They land in their ship, but...
Before they
land in their ship after that, I believe.
After that.
But I assume they had landed on the planet, set some stuff up, and flew, and were waiting for everyone to get there.
I mean, I guess.
It was like a trap, because that's where... Again, how did the...
I don't know.
I'm getting confused again. How did the body of the statue... Because the body of the statue is in the meteor, right? So it lands... And then the cops go to it, and then the Nazis go to it, and then the Ren Fair Johnny and his lady friend go to it, right? And then they take the Cybermen get the body, and then they take it to her grave, because the Cybermen are like, once she sees her own death, she'll go mad. And then there's that weird line where she's screaming about something, goes, is that the sound of a human going mad or whatever?
Yeah.
So that's their plan with that, was to
let her to bank on the fact that she's going to go mad at seeing her. Yeah, I don't know.
They already had everyone together. I don't know. It was very. But I guess they got scared because she had the gold arrows. It's all very all over the place. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And even at the end, I know I'm jumping again to the end.
Totally
fine. The doctor decides to give... He's, like, walking the stuff in, and he's handing the stuff over. And he's, like... Now he's working with the Cybermen. He's not working with the Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't the Cybermen just shoot Like, a lot of times you're like, Cybermen, just shoot them and take the thing. Like, the doctor comes in with the bow. They all could have just shot the doctor, and he's doing the parlor trick with his umbrella hook, and just hooking
pulls it
people
out.
around. It's just, I was like, what?
I mean, that's the case in literally every Cyberman, every Dalek story. It's just stop saying exterminate, stop saying delete, just do it. Just shoot until you kill them. Like, apparently you're all horrible shots because you can never hit anything, except for people whose names we don't know, and they just die by the dozens. But just do it. And so, like, when Ace is stuck up on that gantry at the top, and there's the Cyber Leader and there's the 2 Cybermen there, she has 1 gold coin left and her slingshot, and they just talk about killing her forever. And she just keeps turning between. Shoot. So you can't go down that rabbit hole because it just,
I did like her
way.
with the gold coin shooting, and I liked all of her action stuff.
If you decide to buy into the whole, like, okay, we're going with this gold kills them thing, then yes, then that was actually pretty cool, getting to see her do this kind of action role, which I loved, in previous stories as well. I think she did that really well. So it was nice use of that. It's just, if you think about it too much, it makes your brain hurt and wonder why they decided to do any of it. But
yeah, and you mentioned it's an anniversary show, so we should point out, like, the Brigadier was in it. Someone else was in it too.
Oh, in the tourist?
Yeah, like little cameo.
I don't know how well you could actually see.
I had no idea.
Those people.
I had no idea.
I didn't know until I read afterwards either.
Until I had read that somewhere and did something.
I think that's really nice that happened, but okay, cool. So we get to see a stand-in for Queen Elizabeth, which was kind of fun. Being Americans, the only tell for me was the outfit and the corgis. And I was like, oh, okay, good. So I don't know if it was more obvious to other people. I was like, wait a minute, is that? It must be, right? And then obviously it was.
Yeah,
so that was kind of cool.
Figure that. I mean, the way they played it.
Here's the thing. I mean, no, clearly, obviously was, but at first, anyway. Here's the thing that I've so after I watch, this is little inside how I prepare for the show. So Eric and I try not to read anything about these stories before we get to them. We want to see them fresh. So I watched it first, and then afterwards I will go back and read things about it. So I'll go to TARDIS, or go to TARDIS Wiki, or go to Wikipedia, whatever, and read some of these things. Particularly as I'm filling through my notes and making sure I didn't miss anything, I'll read some of these things. A lot of the breakdown of these stories mentioned scenes that weren't available to us. So there are whole chunks of dialogue and scenes missing.
Wait, not available to us, but they aired, or they just never even aired?
That's what I was getting to. Yeah, it seems as though what's on BritBox right now, which you guys know, that's how we're watching these, because that's the only thing that's really available to us, unless we're going to buy all of them. It seems that this is based on the DVD version that was released, as opposed to the VHS release, which has a bunch of extra scenes.
That's weird. So why
we are not watching? We're not watching the full extended, what is called the extended version. We're watching the shortened version.
But are we watching what aired? Like, did the VHS have scenes that were cut added in? Seems odd that they wouldn't. Usually you get more stuff as it goes on.
Yeah, I couldn't find the answer. I think that the VHS, and folks, please correct me, as I'm sure you will. I feel like the VHS would have been the original release. The DVD was a shortened one that included some extras on the DVD that were deleted scenes, but apparently even that had some scenes that were missing, scenes and dialogue. So it had like bloopers and extra deleted scenes, but not necessarily could you watch a recreation of the extended VHS version on that DVD. So there's a moment like this. I wasn't like drunk or anything when I was watching this, but there wasn't a scene when the Doctor and Ace go into what's supposed to be Windsor Castle, and they get they're going to go find the Queen, but the guards.
Yes.
Okay, so they get them, and the Doctor explains, we came here traveling through space and time, so we saw that, but we didn't ever see him put on glasses and try to hypnotize the guards, did we?
No. Is that a scene that was cut?
Okay, great. So that's when I read that, I was like, wait a minute. I had to go back to the BritBox version to watch.
He just says, okay, I guess we're not going to get armed forces. And I want,
and then they just walk off.
Can't they call unit, isn't unit still a thing? Maybe it's not a thing.
Sure, maybe. But at that point, in the version we see, they're like, okay, I guess we don't no use for the military, and they just walk off. These people who had trespassed into the castle, into the private, how did they get the hell out of there? Well, that's how they got away, apparently. I guess we haven't seen this, but they got out of there because of some hypno glasses or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought for sure, okay, they're getting arrested, or now these people are going to be part of it in some way, and they're not.
Right.
And shout out to the two guys in the members only jacket with those
nice.
Walkman headphones that are servants of the Cybermen.
Dark Lord. Oh wait, Cybermen. Yeah. Yep.
I like that little.
Yeah, the worst assassins in the world.
And then they get killed, and the doctor goes, "Yeah, they were dead anyway. They were dead inside."
Real dark. So
yeah.
Again, this is maybe me being perpetually drunk when I'm watching this.
Was it about the rich lady in the limo, and why was that
let's
in there?
not skip over her. I want to come back to her because she's fantastic.
Why was that in there?
So, whenever the Nazi Supreme, De Flores, is trying to bargain with the Cybermen, and they're like basically kill him, we see him later in a scene with the headphones on.
Yeah, because he got turned, but then he doesn't.
But then doesn't he later not have the headphones again? Because then they're in the warehouse with
at the end, right? Because it's a standoff of the three of them.
So why did?
Yeah, good point.
I feel like we must be missing some scenes there because I don't understand what happened. They said kill him. We don't need him anymore. Kill him. But so they don't kill him, but they apparently turn him into a Cyberman. But then he doesn't have it anymore, so he wasn't really turned. Which means that the guys that they killed, the assassins, weren't really.
What happened to the Nazis all over the place. End?
They had a party. They had a little.
No. Serious question. I don't remember what their resolution was. Did they get killed? They both got killed by the Cybermen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The last Nazi guy, he goes to grab it, and then the Cyberman's still alive, and he shoots him.
Shoots him in the back, which seemed like the Doctor had no plan for that. He had no plan, no end game there, except hoping that someone survived to shoot the guy in the back.
But okay, so why does the woman, lady, Panty Face or whatever her name is, jump into the open grave and then become the statue?
I have no idea.
She gets shot into space, and he's like, I thought you programmed this thing. The Cybermen and the Doctor's deal is very, they needed at least a lawyer or somebody to, at least a notary or something. I don't know what the terms of the deal were, but the Cybermen were happy. And then he's like, didn't you tell them to help me out? He's like, yeah, but they blew you up anyway.
He says to the Nemesis, do you understand the instructions that I've given you, or that you've been given? And it says yes. But the Doctor's like, well, it understood, but you didn't ask if it was going to obey the instructions, and the Doctor had given it other instructions instead. So whatever. The Doctor says go blow this thing up.
His original, 17 moves ahead chess game.
Yeah.
And we also should talk a little bit about what they've been introducing with this mysterious backstory of the Doctor, this mystery. We get more of that in this. We get the first time where they're using the title of the show, not the first time, but whenever they do that, it's always worth pointing out where they're like, Doctor Who, ?
Right.
Who is this guy? What's he hiding? The witch sorceress woman, she knows it because the statue told her. So what, I don't think we ever see that resolved, but this is part of what they're building to.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that I've always say is right up my alley. It's that whole world building mythos stuff that I tend to love. But in this case, it didn't do anything. Lady Painfort has this information from the Nemesis about the history of the Time Lords going back to the old times, the times of chaos, which I didn't really know anything about. I had to go look that up. But it was the time before Rassilon. It was when the Time Lords, please guys, I'm sorry, I'm just reading this stuff and I didn't read all the novels, and that's where a lot of this comes from, so I don't know all this except what I've just read, so bear with me if I'm wrong. But there was the earliest time was before the universe was kind of had any rules to it, and it was infinite possibility. The dominant organizing principle around the Time Lords was around kind of mysticism and religion. And then later, Rassilon comes along, and it leans towards science instead. And so it was during this time of chaos between mysticism and science being the two forces that were kind of dominating the Time Lords. And the proponents of the mysticism part, they actually go on, get exiled and become the Sisters of Cairn that we see later. Anyway, so it's that thing.
Karn, isn't it, Dan?
Karn. I'm sorry, it's
the
Karn.
Sisters of Cairn. That's actually a pretty good name.
Cairn is what I said, but that's a place in Australia.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I didn't know any of that stuff where the Sisters of...
for what it's worth, it might not be 100% right. This is just my summary.
But yeah, but the Doctor has something to do.
Can I just finish? Just want to finish one thing.
Still going?
So this is what she knows about it. But that's not anything about the Doctor. Like, why would he care?
Well, she never
if
says
she reveals
knows.
this.
She never says what she knows.
She says that I will tell you. I can say, I know all the story of the Time Lord. I know that from the old times and the times of chaos. Like, so it's nothing that has any impact on the Doctor. He didn't do any of this stuff.
They were, was it the previous story or one of the stories? They started this whole thing.
Okay.
Which was the Doctor was involved something with Rassilon and Omega. Like he had a bigger role in the creation of everything.
Okay.
Than we know about.
Right, true. Yeah.
So that she's aware of whatever that is, and whether it's a dark thing, he did something he wasn't supposed to do, or whatever. They're sort of hinting at who he really is, and maybe he's not such a good person, or he's got some kind of darker secret hidden.
I mean, that's the implication.
Way
I don't see where it's coming from. Like it just didn't seem to.
It's because they're not giving you enough of it because maybe they don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It doesn't feel like it's like we're just going to drop these hints to things and we'll just figure it out later. We're just going to paint ourselves into a corner with the story. But here's something. So that it ended up being more confusing and less satisfying than I think it could have been. But yeah, maybe that was to a point. Maybe they had a much bigger plan to this, and if the series had gone on a few more seasons, then maybe that would have come to fruition and would have been awesome. But as it was, it didn't. And then there was the whole like Doctor Who, and then at the end, which was kind of cute, the Doctor kind of looking right to camera and shushing, which was kind of nice. But
so let's talk about the rich
stuff.
American woman and why is she in it. And it's a couple of cut back and forth to a scene of her, this woman that used to live, her ancestors lived near Lady whatever, and they got poisoned, and they're terrible people.
Mrs. Remington.
But it's just to get a ride. There's no... It's a whole woman with lots of lines, and what was the point of any of that? We already know she's a bad person.
Fun. It was fun.
It was just fun.
I loved everything about Mrs. Remington. Apparently, and I'm sorry, this is my ignorance. I didn't know who the actress was.
Okay, so is she from the show previous?
No.
The 25th
sorry,
anniversary. Someone
on Twitter who I think David mentioned this to Twitter. He says, let's play the most unlikely star cameo in Doctor Who. Dolores Gray is the actress's name. And she has done literally everything. Award-winning actress, stage, screen, everything. So I've probably seen her a dozen times before and just didn't recognize her at all. Doesn't matter. I think Mrs. Remington is her best role that she could have ever had. It's just such a fun character. She's dealing with two psychos dressed up in Ren Fair outfits, speaking nonsense, and she is just the most gracious woman in the world. Sure, honey, sure we are. Just fan-frickin-tastic and dripping with jewels, and the way she was terrific. That fur that she was wearing, it was great. It could have been anything. Could have been a throwaway line. They could have just she got in the car and got to where they needed to go, but thankfully they gave us 5 minutes with her, and that made it a lot more fun.
I know. For me, all that
it didn't do anything for you,
but it was just like, why have her a part of the story? Or that would have been a great way to put a cameo from someone from the show's history, since it's the 25th.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Like the Brigadier could have picked her up, or Sarah Jane, whatever it is. I don't know. It just
my goodness, if it had been Sarah Jane,
I was like, okay, well, how is this going to tie in, or why is this scene in there? And
just for fun.
It's literally just a ride.
It was just for fun.
Fun ride. Right.
I loved it. I don't think there was anything crazy about it.
Everything's fine. And then how does it end? So it ends, and we get the mystery, and he kills literally all the Cybermen, and this is the last appearance of the Cybermen from what I've read.
Yep.
In the old series.
In the old show. Yep.
Yeah, and she's like, and that's what you did to the Daleks. So I guess the Daleks are gone and the Cybermen are gone.
Yeah.
And that's it.
All done, neatly tied up, and then they go and get a little serenade by Captain Ponytail and his lute-playing friend. So that was fun.
Yeah, I don't know this jazz, but you may like this doctor. Yeah. And who was his friend? Who was the... All of a sudden there was another... Were they back in the 1600s, or they were like outside a cafe in modern times when he's playing?
That was hard to tell, but I think they're back. No, they were. They must have been back, it.
And that's who
they say that they are. Yes, because it was not clear at the beginning either. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad everything worked out for him.
Reviewing jazz, it is meaningless, and I like that they stopped the Cybermen with jazz, and I like that they took several times to just listen to her beatbox, and just sort of chill and just listen to the.
Yeah, that actually took me down a little rabbit hole of looking at all the boomboxes from the 1980s. And there are apparently, just like anything in the world, there are serious diehard collectors of these objects, these artifacts from the 80s. But I loved seeing the giant boombox that was kind of recreated by the Doctor. I just thought that was so cool. So yeah, I spent a little while searching through old boomboxes, which was kind of awesome. Right. Something I want to come back to from earlier that you had mentioned was the black magic.
Okay.
Because they take a potion and then somehow they're able to go through time because of something, the arrow, something. I did get a little bit of a spoiler.
What do you mean?
Ish.
No.
That this black magic that seems like magic, that doesn't seem like it makes any sense in the story. Like, no explanation, just one throwaway line.
And the Doctor refers to it as magic.
As black magic, yeah. This comes back in the next season.
Oh, okay.
In another story. So the explanation for how that works, apparently, and I'm not going to say anymore because you don't want spoilers.
I don't want spoilers.
I wish I hadn't read that. It's just know that does actually kind of apparently get explained how that works.
All right, without spoiling it then, I don't know if you can talk around this. When you say the concept of magic's repeating, or we see characters from this, we're going to see more of the lady.
Why that thing worked in the way that it did is the thing that gets resolved. Apparently, I read two sentences that I wish I hadn't read, but that's seems like what's going to happen. Right. But at the time, I noted in my notes, like, why would they say black magic and not follow up on that? That just seems so out of character for the show. But then it kind of either gets retconned to the next season, or that was the plan, to kind of draw bits and pieces of other stories together in the next season, which is kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, we only got 6 more episodes.
There's not much coming. Yeah, there's not much left.
Do you have anything else to add on this, Dan?
So there's that. Oh, there is, and well, we can link to it on the show page. And I want to watch this later. I just didn't realize it was available on YouTube. There's a making of. That is available on YouTube. It was produced by, I think, New Jersey Public Television, but it is American. And they go on set during the making of Silver Nemesis, and they have some footage of the rehearsals and interviews with the Doctor and Ace. So that's, I'm looking forward to watching that. There's 2 parts of that. I sent you links to those earlier, Eric, but we'll put those on the show page as well. So you guys should definitely take a look at that. If you haven't already, I'm going to look forward to watching that after we record this. Didn't have time beforehand. And also just a small thing. This is the silver anniversary, and the setting is November 23rd, which is the original air date for Doctor Who: Unearthly Child, which was November 23rd.
There you go.
That's kind of cool. Little tie-in. Little small nods to it where they didn't do like a big, multi-part several Doctors thing for a milestone episode, but that was pretty cool.
I will say, because people always tell me or tell us that we get things wrong and we shouldn't necessarily look things up. So I will source when I said about the Cybermen were added later. So this was from Wikipedia.
So who knows?
And so supposedly writer Kevin Clark, who had written this, had said that he had seen very little of Doctor Who, that he had met with the production team without any idea of what his proposed stories would be about, and he made up the story on the spot in front of Jonathan Nathan Thomas and Tim Allen. Jonathan Nathan Turner, that this story was supposed to be the Doctor is literally God. though it was not realized on screen, it goes on to write. The Cybermen were added later at the request of Nathan Turner to tie in with the program's silver anniversary.
That's weird.
So the Doctor is being God, I guess, because of his, the theme of that is he's got this whole plan and he orchestrated this entire thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, sure.
Anyway, I wanted to point that out because in case it is wrong, at least you will
cite your sources. That's always important.
Where I got that from. Do we have anything else, Dan? Can we get to
I think we nailed it. Let's do the feedback.
All right, let's see what you thought. What did you think,
feedback. Let's check out what the Twitters said. Sorry that I'm just scrolling. Let's see. Okay, Uncle Beard says apparently Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the producer. Sorry, guys, it's just a joke that I can't not make. Insisted that the neo-Nazis weren't identified as such on screen. However, absolutely everything else on screen gives it away. Nice idea having two takes on prophecies, theirs and Lady Painfort's.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
So funny.
Wait, I'm misunderstanding. They're saying they never are identified as Nazis?
They never specifically say that they're neo-Nazis. They never say in words that they are, but
there's
that opening scene
in the
they pan across the desk and there's like a swastika paperweight and there's Hitler in the background.
Right.
They're playing.
Is there supposed to be a line where he says, "Steve, we're still Nazis, right? Still Nazis.
What are we doing this week? Are we Nazis?"
They toast to the Fourth Reich.
Fourth Reich. Right. They're playing Wagner in the background. Like it is.
We forgot. Yeah, they lean heavily on the Wagner.
When they go into the,
like you said, and they say it again. Are you familiar with? It's like we get it.
And it's like very Boys from Brazil. They got the whole like South America thing. He's in the living room and it's just nothing but blonde soldiers.
And also, I forgot this thing opens with them shooting birds. It's like beautiful animals, and then it cuts back to the 1600s where she's also killing animals. So that whole thing.
There was no way that he was actually, what's his name? De Flores, the neo-Nazi head. He had that huge, like, hunting compound bow. There was no way he had the strength to pull that back. That was never going to happen. No. Thank God he was interrupted.
But Ren Fair Johnny did, and that guy was phoning in his pullbacks. It was like, you're not hitting anything.
Only Lady Painfort really seemed to have any skill or talent in that area, which is kind of nice. Okay, going back to the tweeters. Bernard says the extended VHS in '93 was nicknamed Sillier Nemesis, which is pretty good. Okay. Which says it all. So the story goes, the story's so out of joint it wouldn't have looked out of place in series 11. And I agree. I mean, there's just pieces that are. I don't know if it's just because we're missing scenes or if it's just the way that the story was kind of architected. It does feel disjointed and confusing, as you've just witnessed us trying to piece it back together in our brains. So that's fun. What else do we have here? Sorry if I don't catch everyone. I'm just scrolling through the timeline here. User Nitro9, great name. They put out a series of behind-the-scene vignettes to help commemorate the 25 years, and I found them much more memorable than the actual episode. But Ace taking out Cyberman with her gold coin slingshot was very entertaining.
I like that too, yeah. And I liked her blowing up the ship.
Yeah. I questioned about that. So she must have had her entire backpack must have been full of Nitro 9. Because we saw in the previous story that one canister of Nitro 9 couldn't kill Fifi. So presumably it must have been like a dozen canisters of Nitro 9 to blow up a cyber ship. Right?
Yeah.
It had to have been. Otherwise, maybe it's very inconsistent in her mixing of Nitro 9. So thank you for that. Bernard also said Kevin Clark is the great pretender of who? Kevin Clark being the writer of this. Even had the barefaced cheek to claim that in a Doctor Who magazine interview at the time that the show's writing had been in a trough for years until he came along.
Ugh.
So this guy who wrote this was his first Doctor Who story, and only, I think, story, he single-handedly saved the writing for Doctor Who.
Wait, he really said that? And he only wrote
this is
one
what Bernard
episode?
says, and Bernard has corrected us on other things, so I trust his insight here. So that feels crazy to me. Chris Tips says, it's fine, not great, but has one of the best lines in Who. Who did this to you? Social workers.
Yeah, that was great.
You loved that one. Okay, let's see. Na 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 na. So we got this. WJ Bird said the misguided attempt to make a Cybermen action movie with the budget and technology of a wedding video.
That's pretty funny.
Someone I think it was Bernard said to us before we should enjoy the studio and film scenes while we had them because it was going to get worse in the later series. This was it.
Yeah.
The video looks so bad throughout this entire story. It is horrible. At least we did, we should have appreciated it while we had it, but they had the studio pieces before. At least those were on film. It was the outdoor ones that didn't look so great, but they were okay. And everything just looks like crap the whole way through. That video just looks terrible. It does look like it was a bad wedding videographer. So there's that. So that was it. Mostly for the tweets. Sorry again if I missed any of those, but thank you for writing in. We did get a couple of emails. Let me see if I can find those here. Do you have anything you want to bring up while we're...
I can read a review. We got an iTunes review, which I like. Yay! Although it is a old iTunes review that's been updated. So I guess, does that count as reading it?
Yeah, read it.
Okay. So
I want to hear it. I haven't seen it, so I want to hear it.
So while you do that, this comes to us from Chuck, SNYC. Hope this keeps going, parentheses updated. So that was his original subject, and now we've got the updated... Eric and Dan are extremely entertaining, and their love of Doctor Who is infectious. If you want to sit back and enjoy some Doctor-centric conversations, this is the podcast for you. I wrote the above review on February 20th, 2016. Now, almost 3 years later, I like this little retrospective review looking back, I decided to come back and update it. Dan and Eric have been plugging along for 70 episodes, and they have definitely hit their stride. The easy dialogue between them is upbeat and funny, and peppered with sadness. I added that last part.
That's mostly
look under the hood, and that's what you get is sadness. And their love for the show is still infectious. This last episode, number 70, The Happiness Patrol, was so much fun to listen to. TODWS is a podcast that gives you the feeling of just hanging out with people who enjoy what you enjoy and love to talk about it. If you're looking for a podcast that entertains, occasionally informs, a little shade getting
Zing, I like it.
It always has a good time with classic Doctor Who. This is the one for you. I added that.
Thank you.
This is the one. All right. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate
I'm going to cry.
Visiting your review and keeping up with us and letting us know that we've gotten better.
It only took us about 70.
Stride.
It only took us about 70 episodes to get our stride. Fine. That's not bad. That's totally reasonable. Oh my God, that's a lot.
All right, that's it. That's it as far as reviews. If you want to leave a review, you can go to iTunes. Please do and leave us a review there or wherever.
And if you're outside the country, we won't get them right away. We have a service. We'll get them every month or so. So if you have, if you're not in the U.S., we'll see that later. We did get 2 emails. So first of all, this is from Paul Paranoid. Says that there's a bunch of Big Finish audio on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
I had stopped the Spotify when Apple Music came out. I just found that to be a better integration. So I'm using Apple Music. I kind of miss Spotify a little bit, but I will go and check that out as well. And he has some recommendations here. Seventh Doctor Story, Flip Flop, etc. So that's awesome. I am very much looking forward to listening to some of these things, even if hopefully they're available without a subscription. I'll just get some commercials or something, but I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for the heads up there, Paul. That's
very cool.
And we got another email from another Paul. So thanks for writing.
Thanks, Paul.
Says, Silver Nemesis is a close contender with Remembrance of the Daleks for my favorite 7th Doctor story. I don't think there's a bad Cyberman story in the whole of Classic Who, and this is no exception. Okay.
Well, I think we've
given our thoughts on this.
You kind of liked it, this story overall. That's how you sort of
I did like
up.
the story overall.
I didn't really like it, so I definitely do not agree that it was
because I liked
good.
some... I think the moments that we kind of pointed out as being highlights for me outweighed the head-scratchingness of some of the weird plot pointing. But anyway, he goes on to say, Like Remembrance, the story shows how ruthless the Seventh Doctor can be in contrast to his previous incarnations. He has no qualms about playing off different foes against one another, and is even prepared to deliberately put Ace in considerable danger. Though, as always, she doesn't disappoint, blowing up a cyber ship and taking out half of the Cybermen.
Can you pause on that? I think that's great insight. And that's actually something I wrote down that I forgot about, that the Doctor does put Ace in danger a lot. And in the beginning... first part of this, when it's the standoff, the Doctor abandons Ace and jumps into the hole with the meteor and sort of leaves her out there with all these lasers, which I guess it's, he trusts her enough to take care of herself. He's not going to handhold her the whole time, but he does sort of really endanger her life on more than one occasion.
Yeah. But Ace is resourceful and one of the best companions ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like Ace.
And lastly, he says, the only downside to the story is that the Cybermen are a weak villain. Everyone seems to have gold conveniently to hand, and I think the writers took this vulnerability too far. 150% agree. That's just so silly. It was a great device the first time we saw it, and the Doctor, was able to take that piece of gold and mash it into the Cyberman's chest and kill him, whatever. But yeah, this seemed like going way overboard. So I think we've spoken about that. Mm-hmm. So thank you for the emails, guys. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com. You can also leave us comments on the website at theolddoctorwhoshow.com. You can leave comments on the individual story pages where we've done our reviews. You can go there also to see all the GIFs that we put together from moments from each of the stories. We've been doing that for maybe the last half of them or so. You can also leave a comment on the schedule page and let us know, should we decide to go back through the Vortex again, which stories that we missed we should definitely try to hit up the second time through. So please do that as well. You can follow us on Twitter at TODW Show. It's the same handle on Instagram, and on Facebook, it is facebook.com/TODWS.
All right, I would like to add something.
Do it.
Going back to where we're talking about Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up on Apple Music, and there's a number of things on Apple Music. So probably the same thing. So if you just look up...
I never thought to look.
There's a whole bunch of stories with Tom Baker. There's stuff with David Tennant, Modern Doctors. It's all unabridged. I'm assuming this is all Big Finish stuff, right? Like Babel Sphere is on here. It looks like Destiny of the Doctor series. I don't know. Is this Big Finish or not Big Finish? I don't know. But there is a number. There's a lot of, looks like audiobooks or audio plays.
I don't know why I never thought to look on Apple Music previously to see if they had any of this. I just, with the name music, I thought it was just music. So this is exciting.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, maybe we'll give it.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like they have Big Finish stuff and not Big Finish stuff, because this is definitely stuff. Big Finish, and it's a full cast audio drama with Tom Baker called The Poseidon Adventure. So yeah, this is awesome.
Stuff and stuff.
Now,
this is great.
I've got my weeks planned.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out to us, folks.
Cool.
Anything else to wrap up with there, Eric?
No, I mean, you hit up the emails. P.O. Box is P.O. Box 2131, Red Bank, New Jersey, 07701. We love to get real things. And if you are enjoying the show, please let us know. Please let other people know, because that's the best way to get the word out. If you're following along at home and watching the shows with us, our next story is The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and that should be up in February, on February 6th.
Yep.
So get watching that.
We'll put out a call for feedback from you guys before that one gets recorded on the Sunday previous to the 6th. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah.
See?
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Let us know what you think.
We're out of here.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Sound of Silver, talk to me. Makes you want to feel like a teenager. Until you remember the feelings of a real live emotional teenager. Then you think again. Sound of Silver, talk to me. Makes you want to feel like a teenager. Until you remember the feelings of a real live emotional teenager. Then you think again. Sound of Silver, talk to me. makes you wanna feel like a teenager until you remember the feelings of a real-life emotional teenager. Then you think again. Sound of Silver, talk to me, makes you wanna feel like a teenager until you remember the feelings of a real-life emotional teenager. Then you think again. Sound of Silver, talk to me, makes you wanna feel like a teenager until you remember.
Where's my robot? You know?